Hi everyone, welcome back to If My Heart Had Wings, Kotori Route, episode 13. And 13 is the unlucky number because in episode 12 we suffered one of the biggest setbacks in this visual novel. So it was another day of practice for Kotori, but unfortunately the winds were high and it blew the glider, and the glider struck Kotori's wheelchair, and it caused Kotori to go to the hospital. So obviously, the school and Kotori's family will be notified. So as a result, one, Tobioka-sensei shuts down the Soaring Club and confiscates the glider, and two, Kotori's dad now knows about Kotori flying in the glider behind his back. And he's obviously upset because, well, we tried to take care of you. We feel sorry for your accident with the balloon, but you still escape and do something dangerous, so I'm upset. And it looks like Hibari is going to try to reason with Kotori about what to do next. And it does look likely that Kotori is not going to fly on a glider again. So let's see what happens next. Because if Kotori does quit the Soaring Club, most likely the Soaring Club will fall apart and disband. So Ageha is like,
どうだった？ひばりさん、なんて？あの人、どうなるの？
So as I enter the dining hall, an avalanche of questions come my way. So I had to push my way into the dining hall. Well, we don't know anything yet. Kotori is going to talk to her father tonight. So also let the mother know what's going on. So Hibari seems to understand our position since she's on Kotori's side. So Hibari has been helping Kotori stay here and allow her to go to the Keifuu Academy. Well, that is, on the condition Kotori does not go near the glider again.
よかった。
So Asa sat down, looking relieved. Ageha and Yoru didn't seem as relaxed though.
今は待つしかないってことね。
Right, so we need to do what we can do. So we can't fly when Kotori does come back. So after finishing my kitchen work, I headed back to my room for a breather. So although worrying and stress from the past 2 days has made me exhausted. So I laid in my bed and closed my eyes. Kotori. Please, so let me stay here. I'll forget about the glider. I won't fly anymore. So please, I just want to be here. So he's remembering the words that Kotori shouted to her father, or actually she begged him that she wants to be here. So remembering Kotori's tears stained face as she pleaded with her father twisted my heart in two. Honestly, as long as Kotori came back, not being able to fly over the morning glory is not even a problem. I'm even fine with giving up on the glider. If we promised that perhaps Kotori's father would allow her to be here. So wanting to hear Kotori's voice, I pulled out my cell phone. I selected Kotori's name in my contact list. Okay, so he's going to call Kotori and see if she will respond. Kotori and her father could have already started talking. So if I call now, I would just be a nuisance. So just as I closed my phone and was about to put it back to my pocket, it rings. So I instantly opened it again and checked the screen. Oh, so it's from Ageha. So didn't she just go home a little bit ago? Hello? Uh-oh. So there was a sense of urgency in her voice. Okay, calm down. So where should I go? So I ran with Asa and Yoru to the runway. Ageha was there with Anchan. So Anchan had lifted the cover of the winch and was staring at it. So what's going on? So Ageha rushed over as soon as she saw me. Wait. Are you crying? Her eyes were red and filled with tears. Sanchan pulls his head away from the winch. I was at a loss for words when I saw it myself. So what's wrong with the winch? Wait, what? Why? So the machine had been destroyed. Okay. So it's like, well, it's damaged pretty badly. So he seemed completely confused and frustrated. What is this? Who in the world could have done this? And as soon as the words left my mouth, I had a realization. There's only one person who could have done this. And I'm sure we know who this person is.
昨日グライダーを持って行かれるとき、飛岡先生の態度が変だったから気になって見に来たの。そしたらこんなことに。
Okay, so it has to be him.
わからない。でも。
So I clenched my fist so hard my main nails began digging into my palm.
こんなのひどすぎます。許せないわ。どうしよう、葵。これじゃもう飛べないよ。
So I could hear her beginning to cry as she whispered. I put an arm around her shoulder to steady her. So she was trembling so much that she had to use my body for support.
なんでなの？昨日まではあとちょっとで手が届きそうだったのに、なんもかもいきなり全部なくなっちゃったよ。
So not only did we lose the glider, our wings, but the winch was broken too. And we lost all our means of getting up into the sky. So now we have a third problem, and it's that Tobioka-sensei destroyed the winch, and it's so damaged that I wonder if it's possible to have it fixed. But anyways, after taking Ageha back home, I brought Asa and Yoru to the dorm. So having seen all of them in tears brought an even heavier sadness over me. So why did this happen to us? So all these unfortunate events. So confused by the strange yet obvious malice and the sense of loss from having the glider taken away, I was consumed by an overpowering sense of lethargy.
大丈夫か?
Yeah, well, I'm fine. Well, thanks for coming. So Anchan had come as soon as Ageha called him. And when I came back, Ageha had already looked like she was about to cry. So if he hadn't come, she would have burst into tears by now.
何? お前らが困ってるならいつでも駆けつけるさ。
Well, I'm always here if you need help. So he spoke with an anxious look on his face.
大変だったみたいだな。
Well, kind of. Well, I didn't want to say anything more than that. So if I started to talk, I probably would not be able to stop. I wanted him to listen to what happened. I felt like acting like a little child. So he must have known how I felt as he began to pat me on his head.
それじゃあもう行くよ。そろそろ戻らないとおやすさんにどやされる。
Okay, well, thanks, Anchan. So as I raised my hand to thank him, Anchan stood up and started to leave. He took one step and then stopped. So what else does he want to say to Aoi? So what's wrong?
飛岡先生があそこまでやるのは、もしかすると俺たちのせいかもしれない。
Well, I don't think it's anyone's fault in the Soaring Club, including Anchan. What do you mean?
いや、すまん。忘れてくれ。
Well, never mind. So Anchan was being unusually vague. So thinking that strange, I went and looked at the mess that was behind him. Woo! Okay, so I was back in his room. So closing the door behind me, I could only sigh at what I had seen. So the winch was completely destroyed. So Anchan said that he would try to fix it as quickly as possible, but at best it would take more than a week. Okay, so there is hope to get the winch fixed. So there's also a possibility that it couldn't be fixed at all. Well, I guess we can't fly anymore. So I threw myself onto my bed. I was so exhausted I could barely stand. So I opened up my cell phone as if it may have the answer to my problems. So one message. Huh? So I hadn't even noticed that I got a message at some point. And it's from Kotori. So I jumped out of bed and opened the message. Well, don't worry. I'll come back. So it seems like she had written it in a hurry. So even though it was enough to completely re-energize me. So I quickly wrote back a reply. Okay, I'll be waiting for you. And a short message is the best, so only say what I have to say. And hopefully Kotori got the message. So I closed my eyes. No, I closed my phone and got up again. So he goes to the secret base. Ageha? So as soon as I entered the secret base, I noticed Ageha was also here. So, what are you doing here? So, hadn't she just gone home?
そっちこそ。
Well, same thing with you. Well, just around the time when summer was about to start.
私もそんなとこ。ここでくじけてちゃ、あいつらの思うツボだもんね。
Well, it seems so. So I suggested to Ageha what I had come up with on my way here. So remember that rubber cord that Yoru found a while ago? I wonder if we can use that. So Ageha smiled snugly.
私もそれ考えてたとこ。
Maybe. Well, do you really think this will get the glider to fly?
さあ、どうなんだろう。
I don't know. So something that looked like a bunch of rubber bands put together to make it a rope. Well, it's elastic. So it was quite long, and right in the middle, it had a metal ring attached. So it looked like as if it was designed to attach to a glider's hook. So Yoru had found it in this warehouse. So through a little research, Ageha found out it was used for launching gliders. So using the recoil form rubber, it should make it possible to fly. Well, I just can't see this working though.
だよね。
But it doesn't hurt to try though, I guess. So someone entered the dock.
あ、
Oh, Asa's here.
先輩。二人ともどうしたの？それはこっちのセリフです。
So it seems Asa and Yoru were thinking the same thing we were. We came to our thinking there might be something we can do.
ひひひ。へこたれないね。私らも。
So we've got to keep up the spirit. Well, we don't really have much time or options.
ソアリング部の人たちって単純っていうか、心は一つってことですね。
So I decided it was a good time to pull out my cell phone and show it to everyone. So I got a message from Kotori earlier.
嘘。
Oh,
本当ですか？なんて書いてあったの？
well, don't worry. I'll come back, says Kotori. So everyone stared at the short message. It was almost as if they expected some other meaning to be hidden amongst these 5 words.
こりゃあの子が戻ってきたとき、離陸準備ができてないとどやされるわね。
Well, if we just sit around sucking our thumbs, she'll be livid. No doubt about it. So as I said this, everyone began snickering as if they remembered the time Kotori flipped out on me. I'm sure that's a lot of times. Okay, so first, let's look up on this a bit. Okay, so let's look at the rubber cord. So Ageha gathered a bit of information on the internet. So we all began to stare at what she has found. So how to tow with a rubber cord. So taking off via winch is winch towing. Using a rubber cord is rubber cord towing.
別名パチンコ英語？
That's kind of like what it is. So the long rubber cord is attached to the glider, the ends are pulled, and then off it flies like a slingshot. Yeah, that's true. So in the slingshot, though, you don't want the bullets to just go all over the place.
なんかすごい原始的ね。
So there's a bit more of like a uncertainty when you fly with a rubber cord, because you don't know where the glider is going to end up once the slingshot motion is complete. So could that really get the glider into the to fly?
さあ。あ、ここに動画があるよ。
So Ageha clicked to open one of the videos, or like a video. It was a way of a rubber cord towing of a glider by a riverbed. And to us, it was quite the spectacle. So first, the ring on the rubber cord is attached to the hook that we use for the winch. And then the glider stays in place while the cord is pulled on with a lot of manpower. And sort of like a huge tug of war. So when the cord is pulled just enough, the pilot releases the brake and then...
うわ、引く。
So Yoru began growling at the video.
飛びましたね。ちょっぴりだけ。
So unfortunately, it didn't really provide much effect, or like it doesn't perform as well as the winch. So the glider flew up about maybe 1 or 2 meters high. So it didn't even go 10 meters. So Ageha read the instructions.
これはもともと うんと軽いグライダーを飛ばすのに用いる方法らしいわね。だからうちの複座式となると、ちょっと厳しいかも。
So the problem is that the video shows a very light glider flying a few meter or 1 meter off the ground, but they're trying to fly a heavier flying machine that's going to go up to 2,000 meters. So the weight of the two people would not help either.
浮き上がるかどうかも怪しいわね。
Well, there wouldn't be enough acceleration. So even if it did, getting it high enough to get into the clouds would be another problem. So at that acceleration, the glider would stall before getting onto a vertical draft.
やっぱりウインチと人力じゃパワーに差がありすぎるか。複座式のグライダーを十分な高さまで上げようと思ったら、よほど強力で十分な長さのゴムがないと不可能だわ。
So we need enough people to pull it. It might theoretically be possible, but realistically, it's close to impossible. And there's no way we would get a long enough cord to in time. Yeah, well, I don't think this will work, unfortunately.
わかんない。まだ他に方法あるかも。
So Ageha begins searching on the internet again. Okay, so you handled this. Well, I'm going to go look for the glider.
見てくるって？
So what do you mean look? So before we take the glider back, we have to know where it is, right? So he goes to school and looks for clues. So I heard Tatsuya or Masatsugu my plan after he took me to the school. He wasn't taking the idea well. So please, you gotta do something.
なんとかってお前、今度バレたらただじゃ済まないんだぞ。
You know, you've already been caught once, and it's going to be much worse if you get caught again. And I'm sure there's more safeguards in place this time. Well, I won't say that you told me, so please, so do you know where the glider went?
なこと言っても、こないだのも俺だってバレてるし。
I wonder if Masatsugu knows this time, or maybe not. So I was only asking that he help me find where the glider was being stored, that's all. So since he's part of the student council, he can get places most students can't.
だいたいお前らだって今度逆らったらどうなるかわかんねえんだろ。
And I think Masatsugu is trying to avoid being part of the problem. Nope.
やめとけって。もうお前ら無茶しすぎだ。
Well, you know, you're lucky that you're still in school.
たかが空飛ぶ飛ばないって話だろ。どうしてそこまでやるんだよ。
Well, you see, so I stopped mid-sentence.
お前まさか何も考えずにやってんのか？
And you still wanted to do it. No, I just hadn't sat down and put my thoughts together, that's all. So I could try to do it, but there was just no way to really put it into words. Well, I don't know the best way to say it, but, well, it feels like if I don't do it, I'd be betraying myself. Well, I really worked so hard on this. How could I possibly betray my own hard work? So remembering the time Kotori and I stared straight up at the sky, that is exactly what I didn't want to betray. So he tilted his head to the side with a confused expression on his face. And suddenly he sighed.
お前ってやっぱかっこいいな。昔からさ、お前とかアゲハはやっぱ俺とは違うよ。
Well, I guess that's how you and Ageha are like. Really? So now it's my turn to be confused.
俺からすりゃ、お前らが憧れでずっと見上げて生きてきたってことだよ。
Really? So Masatsugu gave me a frustrated look as I nodded, only half understanding what he was saying.
わかったよ、手伝ってやる。
Okay then, I'll help you then. Really?
幼馴染ってやつはつれえな。ずっと一緒にいるとバカが映っちまう。ただし絶対にあかりさんにはバレないように頼むぞ。もしバレたら俺の恋の行方が。
何のご相談かしら。
And Akari seems to be around the corner. And I hope she didn't hear everything. So why are you here?
ここ学校よ。
Well, that's true. But it's summer vacation.
クラブハウスの修繕費の見積もりを今日中に出さないといけないのよ。
So she spoke in a jaded tone. Akari really is a hard worker.
というわけだ。悪かったな、葵。力になれなくて。
Wait, what? So what happened to the way you were acting just a few minutes ago?
分かってくれよ。俺にとってあかりさんはお前らとの腐れ縁より何百倍も大事なんだ。
So I have to keep Akari happy. So Akari-san. So Akari looked at me, the two of us, whispering with a emotionless look on her face.
私も水瀬君にお話があったんだけど、何やらお取り込み中のようね。
いえいえ、こいつとの話はもう終了したんで。な、葵。
Okay. No, we're not. But anyways, what is it you want to talk about? So Akari wanting to talk to me wasn't exactly a common thing.
ハバネさんのこと聞いたわ。とても残念だけど、我々生徒会はあなたたちをかばうことはできません。力になれなくてごめんなさい。
Well, I understand. So that's how it was from the start anyways. Well, I should be the one apologizing. Sorry about all the trouble we've caused you. So Akari had approved the Soaring Club, which had made her take on responsibility.
それは構わないわ。私が信念に基づきやったことだから。ただ、こうなってしまったことは残念だけど。
But unfortunately, this is an accident.
私も見たかったわ。あなたたちのグライダーが飛ぶところを。
And I too was excited about the glider. So Akari was looking out of the window as she spoke to me.
望月先輩が何年もかけて追いかけていたものが何なのか。
And now I can understand why Mochizuki-senpai would go this far to making the glider able to fly.
それが結実するところをこの目で見てみたかった。
And I want to know the end result. Akari.
お話というのはそれだけよ。
Akari's business persona had returned. Once she was finished, she turned around and walked to the hallway. And after a few steps, she stopped. She stood still with her back still faced to us. So what's now?
あかりさん。
So she suddenly turned around and walked towards us.
昨日、飛岡先生たちが何やら大きなものを持って帰ってくるのを見かけたわ。
Huh?
中身は知らないし、特に興味もないのだけれど、どうやらそれはグラウンドにある体育遊具室に保管したみたい。あそこならしっかりと鍵がかけられますからね。
Oh, thanks. So why are you,
深い意味はないわ。世間話よ。
Well,
悪いかしら。
It's just a conversation, nothing else. Saying that in an irritated tone, she turned around again.
それじゃあ。
So this time, she actually left. Thank you. I stared at the ground, completely dumbfounded. So why did he tell me that?
さあ、飛岡のやり方に相当ムカムカ来てたからな。ああ、見えて怒ると怖いんだ。
So the gym storeroom. Okay, so let's go, partner.
勝手に人を相棒にすんな。
Wait, why are you calling me partner? Or I wonder if I always called him Mabo or Ibo. I headed off to the sports field, almost pulling Masatsugu behind me. So, as expected, the storeroom was locked. So, Akari kind of gave a hint about where the glider went, and I'm sure she might know that it is the glider, but she pretends not to know about it, maybe to hide under the covers of Tobioka-sensei's suspicion. I did a quick inspection of the warehouse and took my leave. Well, at least we learned where it is being kept. So now we can get it back when we have to. Well, of course, that's a huge risk to take. So how are they going to open the door if it's locked pretty tightly? I rushed back to the secret base deep in thought. And as I was walking up the slight hill, I glanced at the sky over the lake. So what comes to his mind?
綺麗ですね。まるで朝焼けみたい。ねえ、アゲハ先輩。あれって。
So wait, is it that?
ええ、多分。
Okay, so
そうだと思う。
the things that well, it looks like the morning glory is going to come soon. So they have pretty little room or time to get ready. Okay, so I was running with the phone. So I ran down the hill towards the runway, and I placed my hand on the knees and tried to catch my breath. And my cell phone had been ringing for some time now. I answered it without checking to see who was calling. Hello?
Aoi, 空を見て。
Oh, so Ageha. Yeah, I can see it. Standing in the middle of the runway, I had a clear view of the sky. So the eastern sky was a bluish purple. To the west, the sky was the same orange that it always was at sunset. So this is what we have been waiting for all this time. The sky we had been yearning for, praying for. Staring at the blue gradient of the bluish purple of the deep vermilion, my body began to tremble. I was suddenly overjoyed, excited, and impatient. Each second grew a new feeling welled up inside me.
ねえ、あれって間違いないよね。
So this has to be... Yeah, so this is the sign. The morning glory is coming.
葵がいない間に他の方法も調べてみたんだけど、どれも今から準備するには厳しいわ。
So the thing is that how are they going to get the glider out in time by the time the morning glory comes? So Ageha searched for other ways to launch besides a winch or rubber cord, but she couldn't find something we could do in time. So even though the signs have come...
もうちょっと調べてみる。
Okay, well, I'm counting on you. So as I was saying that, I pulled out my phone to check for messages. So no new messages was displayed on the screen. So ever since then, I hadn't heard back from Kotori. So had she already discussed this with her father? So since I hadn't heard anything, it probably meant nothing had been decided, but still. So I decided to write a message to Kotori. I saw a sign just now, the morning glory is coming tomorrow morning. she'll definitely come back. So knowing that, I pressed the send button.
お夕飯買ってきました。
So, did Kotori read the message? Asa and Yoru come back, each holding a big shopping bag.
おお、おかえり。おにぎりがあんまりなかったからサンドイッチを買ってきたわ。あと姉さんがおやつをたんまりと。
Okay,
ご苦労さん。
so we're going to stay here tonight. I had the two of them go stock up for our siege.
そっちはどうですか？
So anyways, what's going on?
どれも今からじゃ厳しそう。ということは今のところ残された方法はゴム柵だけってことね。
So I looked up every possible way to launch the glider, and it looks like the only thing that we can do is with the rubber cord. Yoru looked devastated.
小鳥先輩はどうなったんでしょう。
And more importantly, where's Kotori? Ageha looked at me. I shook my head to reply. Well, I haven't heard anything back yet.
モーニンググローリーがもう来ちゃうのに。ひばりさんに頼んでみたらどうかな。モーニンググローリーが来てる間だけこっちに連れてきてほしいって。
Well, I'm going to wait a bit longer. If I don't hear back, I'll just do that. So that's a last resort. And if that sign was correct, the real thing was coming tomorrow morning. And even then, it would only be around for 2 or maybe 3 hours.
けどそれもグライダーが飛べたらの話よ。機体もない、離陸もできないじゃ意味ないわ。
So we also need the glider.
だよね。
Yeah.
皆さん、ご飯にしませんか？
Well, anyways, let's eat. Asa seemed to try to perk us up just as we were getting down. Yeah, well, let's go ahead and eat.
そういや、もうお腹ペコペコだわ。
So without realizing it, our normal mealtime had long since passed. And everyone started to take whatever they wanted out of their shopping bags. Or the shopping bags. So while waiting for her instant noodles, Ageha searched for a picture of the rubber towing cable found earlier in the day. So a huge crowd of people pulled on the cord and the glider rose only a few scant meters. And that was a simple, light glider. So our two-seater would never be able to get in the air by this method. Everyone stared at the screen, half having given up.
これは何だい？
And Amane's here too.
これはゴム柵以降のってうわ
And that surprises Ageha. So all of a sudden, there was Amane peeking over Ageha's shoulder to see the computer screen. Wait, Amane, so when do you get here? Placing her helmet on the desk, she answered while looking at the screen.
さっきだ。入ってきても誰も気づかないからちょっとだけ傷ついたぞ。
Well, I'm kind of sad that nobody noticed me coming in. Well, we had been staring at the screen so hard we didn't even notice she arrived.
ゴム柵栄光。こんなやり方もあったのか。
So she seemed genuinely interested. I guess there are things even she does not know. She began looking at all the resources Ageha had brought up.
なるほど。
Okay, I see.
面白いなこれ。でもこれじゃあ私たちのグライダーは飛ばないな。
So my heart sunk as soon as the words come out of her mouth. If Amane Mochizuki says it's impossible, it is impossible.
どうした？暗い顔をして。
So why are you sad? Well, the truth is that I told Amane about the broken winch.
そうだったのか。それで他の発行方法を探していたんです。
So that's why we're looking at other methods. Amane began looking at the resources again, and this time she was serious. Well, I guess it's nearly impossible.
そうだな。
Well, Amane grunted at the screen. I guess it is impossible.
そういえば小鳥はどうしたんだ？
But where's Kotori? She spoke as if she had just remembered about it. So a shocked look came across my face. Well, that's right. So with everything that had happened, I forgot to tell Amane about Kotori.
今日退院してくる予定だったよな。
Well, I'm pretty sure that's long in the past now. Ageha was looking worried. Oh yeah, so she didn't seem to have any major injuries. She seemed good,
そうか。よかった。
But then after that, I explained to her what happened after Kotori left the hospital. So the fact that Hibari told the father about the whole story about the glider and Kotori flying in it and Kotori being put aside for further consultation.
そんなことがあったのか。それでまだ連絡はないのかい？
So anything after that? So the response? Yeah, so nothing. Amane began looking worried again.
さっき予兆が見えただろ。それでこっちへ来てみたんだ。きっと小鳥が飛ぶんだろうと思って。でもそうか。小鳥は飛べないのか。もし小鳥が無理でも飛ぶところを見せてあげたくていろいろ探してみたんですが。
So we were pretty much ready to give up.
残された方法はこのゴム柵だけということか。
So I guess this is the only way then. So the rubber cord.
あ、滑走路にジャンプ台をつけるのはどうでしょう。
So Asa suddenly spoke up. Everyone then turned their attention to Asa.
ゴムで引っ張りながらジャンプ台をグライダーがこう。
She began to explain with shaking hands. Basically, there would be a jump ramp on the runway and the glider would be shot up the ramp.
うまくいけば少なくともこの動画よりは高く飛べそうね。
So maybe it will help the glider gain a few more meters of altitude.
でしょ？
Amane shook her head.
加速が足りない。仮に5、6メートルくらいまで上がれたとしてもすぐに失速してしまう。ジャンプ台を登るために勢いも犠牲にしてるしね。ダメですか。ジャンプ台を作るのは今すぐ取り掛かればギリギリいけなくもないかな。かなり無茶だけど。
So basically, the glider would have to go up at least 10 meters after it hits the ramp. And if there isn't a strong lift right the end of the jump ramp, there's really no point at all. Everyone was in deep thought.
上昇気流を発生させる方法があればいいわけか。
Well, that or have it go off the cliff, well, maybe that would do something. And just as I had about given up, I heard a clap of excitement come from Amane.
ああ、それでいいじゃないか。
Oh, that'll work. So it looks like I just brought up a little suggestion, and it looks like Amane might take it seriously. So everyone looked at her in confusion. So,
そうかそうか。何も滑走路から飛び立つ必要はないんだな。いやでも危ないんじゃ。
So even if we were to start to fly like that, if we couldn't have a lift at that point, what would even happen? So the drop would cause acceleration, but if there was no way to rise after that, it'd be completely pointless. So it's like, well, how about we take off from a high place, and then as the glider rolls down the hill or some ramp, it gains speed, and that'll cause the glider to have enough lift, and maybe by the time it hits the bottom, it'll have enough lift to be airborne. So the glider was still high enough after it accelerated. That would be that'd be fine, but that would have to be from a really high cliff, and that's basically impossible. However, suddenly Amane spoke up.
それで行こう。そうしよう。
But at this point, we have to try everything that we can think of. So this is logical and it'll work. Or maybe. So she began nodding her head as if it already had been decided.
紙と書くもの。
So taking paper and pen from Asa, Amane begins to write fiercely.
機体重量がおよそ 280kg。2人の体重が合計 100kg として。
So the paper began to fill up with math equations and diagrams.
紙。
Okay, more paper. Asa laid down another sheet for Amane, who hadn't even lifted her head.
それじゃ足りないわ。
Well, we need more paper than that. So Yoru grabbed a bundle of paper and plopped it down in front of Amane. And without even looking up, Amane took more paper and kept on writing. So I wonder how long this equation is now. So I'm pretty sure it's probably like 10 or 20 pages now.
トランスモードだ。久しぶりに見た。
And likewise, when she's in deep thought, she forgets everything else around her and is busily focusing, concentrating on that problem. It's kind of like the same when Amane was working on the blueprint for the second generation glider. Amane had an intense look of concentration on her face. So this was exactly the first time I met her. Yep, she was staring at the drawing board. Yep. And she was hungry, if you remember. So when she's like this, she'll even forget that she's hungry. There you go. And she's quite the eater.
ふむふむ。なるほどね。その手があったか。
So Yoru was nodding along in agreement as she read through the sheets of paper Amane was producing. And then...
時間がもったいない。私も手伝うわ。
Okay, so I'll help too, says Yoru. And saying that, she sat down next to Amane and began scribbling out equations. And I couldn't believe my eyes. Huh? So, you're going to help?
一体何が始まっているの？なんだかちょっと怖いです。
But it's kind of scary. Unable to follow along with what was going on, we watched in amazement. So I wonder if they were able to solve the equation at the end. It looks like they're still working on it. So the scratching sound of both pens went on and on, almost without a single pause. Both Amane and Yoru kept on writing without saying a word. And the way they were working, it almost seemed as if they were communicating in an entirely different language. Well, that's Ageha, Asa, and me, stayed back and had our own conversation. So from what I heard about Akari, the glider should be in the gym storeroom. And there's one sturdy lock on the door. It's not something that you could just hit and break open.
あそこならセキュリティはないわね。
But then again, if we do break the lock, no one's going to notice because there's no security.
となると、問題はその鍵か。 飛岡先生見張ってるんじゃないでしょうか。ありえるわね、あのおっさんなら。
So without a winch, he think we can't fly. There's no way he's still worrying about us. It's like, well, hopefully this time I shut them down for good. So I broke all their chances at trying to bring back the Soaring Club. So no winch, gliders locked away, and so with Amane working this hard, perhaps something might happen after all. So now that all that's left is to take back the glider.
鍵を何とかしたとしてどうやって運ぶんですか？
So how can we move the glider from the storeroom to here?
そこなのよね。あんちゃんに頼めれば楽なんだけど。
Well, this might be too much though. So what we're doing could get us arrested if this thing does not go perfectly. That's true. So now they're going even further to try to get the glider back, and it's even worse than before when they were just taking it from the storeroom and hiding it somewhere. So we're students, the school will probably handle disciplining us, and that would not be the case for Anshan. Well, everyone was already prepared to be punished by the school. And if there was a way to fly, we would do it. Well, that's how we all felt. So we could just move it like it was moved before. So I think what happened initially was that they secretly slid out each part one by one, and they moved it in the middle of the night. And I wonder how far the Flying Fish Manor is from the school. So I think they moved each part, so the wing, the body, the control surfaces, one by one as a team. Oh, and there's a wagon. It would be difficult, but if we could load the disassembled glider onto the cart, someone could pedal while others pushed. And we have Alawi, who was a champion cyclist. Well, actually, he was third place, but he does have enough power to move this trailer along. So we needed a way to do it without the teacher noticing us. And breaking the lock will be noisy. Well, that definitely get us noticed.
なるべく音がしない方法で壊すしかないわね。鉄の子じゃ時間がかかりすぎるか。
And I wonder how secure that lock is. I hope it's not one of those kryptonite locks where the only way to break it is through a power saw or carbon arc saw. And even a bolt cutter won't do the trick.
針金でこうコチョコチョっと。
No. So it only works like that in cartoons. It's like, well, we can use a paper clip or some kind of skeleton key to unlock it, but that's going to be too hard to do in this lock. So the more we talked about different plans, the more realistic it seemed. And the possibility of flying the morning glory, that is. So the glider was taken, our winch was broken, everything had seemed to be over. And even so, there's still one thing that is missing. And I'm sure it's Kotori. So looking at the clock, I noticed it was just about to turn to midnight. So there was still time until it began, but still, it was getting late. I looked at my cell phone and continued to grow nervous. So basically, why hasn't Kotori responded to my question yet?
小鳥遅いね。まだ連絡がないんですね。
So still, no response. Yeah. So did she read my message? I can't imagine she would remain quiet if she knew that the signs have appeared.
たくん、初めて会った時からだけど、人に世話焼かせる子だよ。
And now Ageha's starting to pour some negative thoughts about Kotori. Well, that's because she's the youngest child. As I was responding with a laugh, my phone rings. Uh-oh. Oh, so it was not a message but a call. Hello? So who is it?
もしもし、葵くん？かなこだけど。
Oh, Kanako. Kanako?
今、ひばりさんが来てるんだけど、葵くんに渡したいものがあるって言ってるから、悪いけど、戻ってこられる？
Yeah, well, I'll be right there. I closed my phone and stood up. Well, I'll be right back. So I ran up the hill panting. So why did Hibari come? Well, so is Kotori with her? And what did she want to give me? I was out of breath, but I ran on, fueled by my worries. So it keeps running. I suddenly heard my cell phone ringing in my pocket, and I got a message. So, can Aoi read the message? I paused for a second and checked my phone. It was from Kotori, and the message had no title. So I hesitated for a moment and then opened the message. I'm sorry I didn't call, but if I talk to you now, it'll probably go crazy. Wait, go crazy? So I almost dropped my cell phone. My hands were shaking so much. And steadying my phone with both hands, I continued to read. So I talked with my father. I decided to go back to Tokyo. I'm going to take a break for the rest of summer vacation. I really want to stay in Kazagurura, but there's no way I can keep worrying my parents like this. So after reading that, I closed my eyes for a moment. And at the same time, I felt both shocked and like I knew this was going to happen. So it's like, well, this is probably why it took so much time for Kotori to answer back. So spending this past year with you guys was fun. So it's one of my dearest memories. I wish I had a photo album. I'm sorry that I caused so much trouble for you all. And I want you to fly through the morning glory without worrying about me. So that's the only thing I want right now. So thank you for loving me. And even though I'm going back to Tokyo, I won't forgive you. And the message ends there. Wait, what? I held my phone as tightly as I could in my shaking hands. And the plastic casing began to creak. And as soon as I snapped back to reality, I called Kotori. And will she answer?
ただいま、電話に出られません。ご用の方は、ピーという発信音の後に。
So please leave your message after this tone. Wait, what's going on? So why aren't you answering? Kotori! I yelled without realizing it. So feeling overwhelmed at a loss, I nearly flung my phone down at the ground. Hope he doesn't destroy it. I managed to control myself and instead call a different number. So what's the number he's calling? So after calling a ridiculous amount of times, or maybe 20 or so, someone finally answers.
もしもし、Habane です。
Hello, this is the Habane residence. Kotori? Kotori! So hearing Kotori's voice after what felt like ages, I felt relieved. So I had called Hibari's home phone number. There you go. And since Kotori answered the phone, it means she's still there. So I read your mail. So what happened?
お母さんが倒れたの。
Huh?
私のせいで、お母さんが。
So my mind went blank for a moment. I had only asked her what happened, albeit in a strong tone, but she seemed to understand what I was talking about. So, how's she doing?
ね、すごく喜んでくれて、お母さん泣いてた。私ずっと自分を責めてた。あの時気球に乗りたいってわがまま言ったせいで、お父さんとお母さんを悲しませちゃったから、私がこんな体になっちゃったせいで家族をめちゃくちゃにしちゃったから。
Well, that's not. So it's not your fault that you caused all this to start or unfold. Well, that's not right. I almost said that. However, right now, those words would not console her.
だからもうそんなこと二度とないようにしようって思ってたのに、またやっちゃった。私だって帰りたくないよ。けど今帰らないと今度こそ家族がバラバラになっちゃう。そんなのもっと嫌なの。
But you... So, could you do that? So, quit school, go back home, and then live like that? I was only answered with silence. And after a moment, she sighed.
1年前の私とは違うから。あの時みたいに何もかも嫌になって逃げ帰ろうとしてるわけじゃない。だって今の私にはたくさんいい思い出があるもん。葵と出会って、アゲハや朝や夜やあまねちゃんや飛び嘘のみんなや、学校にもたくさん友達ができて楽しいこともいっぱいあった。それに空だって飛んだわ。
I'm sorry I went too fast.
それ全部葵たちと出会ってなかったら一生得られなかったかもしれないものばかり。もう十分よ。
Well, there's still one thing you want to do. So, the one big thing. So, did you read my message? We saw the signs. I'm sure she did. So, it's coming. So, in only a few hours, Morning Glory is coming.
それは私には過ぎた夢だから。
No, it isn't.
あるの？
Wait, what are you talking about? You can fly now. You can do it on your own.
一人じゃまともにお風呂にも入れないのに。
Well, I can't.
空を飛べるのだってみんながいてくれるからよ。私一人じゃ飛べないわ。
Well, Kotori, I couldn't believe it. She was throwing away everything we worked for. And all of our good times together, she was acting as if it never happened. And tears welled up in my eyes as frustration coursed through my heart.
葵と過ごせた1年間、本当に楽しかった。私にとってきっと一生の宝物だよ。だからもう十分なの。
Well, it's not enough, Kotori. Well, it's not even close to being enough. And my sobbing began to come out through my voice. And when did I start crying?
葵は飛んでモーニンググローリーを見上げることは私にもできるから。
So she laughed a little. I could tell she was trying her best to be strong. Or perhaps that was the last thing she thought she could wish for. Okay, so I noticed that this episode is going way too long. It's because I wanted the whole phone conversation with Kotori in this episode. So it looks like Kotori is being pressured hard to give up her dreams and go home. And it's because, well, on the other hand, she has to help her family as well. And it does hurt that Kotori really let her parents go down from that injury. And obviously the mom would be so anxious and worried that Kotori almost got herself injured again. And this time it's from the glider. So hopefully there is some solution to this, given that the Morning Glory is coming very soon. And on top of that, Aoi, Ageha, and the twins still have to find some way to get the glider out from the locked storage room. So we'll see how all this comes together and whether or not they'll be able to make the time, or make it just at the right time to see the Morning Glory with their own two eyes. And with that in mind, I'll see you later.